All right, everybody. Thank you for that loud and noisy, small but beautiful show of solidarity for the 72 people who needlessly perished in that fire. And your show of solidarity for the fact that 2 years on, we are still, not just as a Grenfell community, but as a country, fighting for change following that fire. As I said before, one of the things that actually has impacted quite dramatically on the community is the report that the soil around Grenfell may be filled with toxins following the fire, and that we may be as a community at risk of cancers and respiratory conditions in the future. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Ty, who's going to talk about his experience and his loss following toxins. Kai, welcome.
Give me a hand of applause.
Thank you to Justice for Grenfell for inviting me to speak today. It is with humility and respect that we remember the people that died, the survivors and the bereaved. We stand as Truth About Zane alongside fighting for justice for people from Grenfell. 2 years is just a disgrace. 5 years for my boy Zane, that is a disgrace, and enough is enough. 2 years is just wrong. Justice is for all and not just the few. Good afternoon. My name is Kai and I'm Zane's daddy, and I'm here to tell you what happened to my beautiful boy Zane. In February 2014, unprecedented flooding swept through a secret landfill site just 6 yards from Zane's home. Land formerly used for tank testing and experimental tipping. The flood water flowed beneath Zane's Victorian home, which became infused with hydrogen cyanide, a deadly, odorless and invisible toxic gas that rose up through the floorboards. The gas, hydrogen cyanide, was detected at Zane's home by the fire service's hazmat. 7-year-old Zane was killed. This same gas, hydrogen cyanide, is said to be responsible for many deaths at Grenfell 2 years ago. It was also the chemical used to kill people during World War II in the death camps. To connect with what I am saying to you, you only need to think about Salisbury 1 year ago. Everything that you saw that happened after the poisoning at Salisbury happened to us. Yes, those events of having the area evacuated, immediate presence of Porton Down, the world's premier chemical weapons agency, and they took over the area. Emergency COBRA meetings. These are meetings reserved and preserved for the highest aspects of national security. So that's Westminster, London Bridge, etc. Decontamination units, pop-up hospital, chemical suits, Army Gold Command. You get in the picture, but I'd like you to take this picture. It is 3 a.m. in the morning. A mother, Nicole, finds her only child, 7-year-old Zane, collapsed. She raises the alarm, calling emergency services, whilst trying to resuscitate Zane, all at the same time. In the meantime, unknown to anyone, I was also silently dying and unconscious. When I came round, I was lying next to my dead son, who I had hugged and kissed goodnight only hours before. Our son had been killed, Our medical records within minutes of Zane's death recorded police, fire service, public health, hazardous area response team notifications of hydrogen cyanide. One entry from public health records how pockets of hydrogen cyanide were in the house and no one was allowed to go back to that house and the family must be rehoused. The Environment Agency built a property next door to us 4 years earlier in 2010. Before it was built, they commissioned an international engineering firm to do a report on that secret landfill. The report stated there is migrating landfill gases. The risk is high. The consequences of that risk are serious injury and death. The authorities responded by building their property with a gas-proof membrane that forms a barrier to stop people being killed by the gases rising into that property. Concretely, the authorities knew the danger to life and they decided to keep their reports a secret. In their official statement to the BBC, they said, the land was never landfill and we're just causing public panic. Hydrogen cyanide is a gas commonly found in landfill. It is so common, the sister site to this piece of land, just a couple of miles up the road, was remediated for cyanide in 2011. The authorities had a duty to protect us. As we know, they protected themselves. Zane's death was preventable. Zane's inquest was marked by various areas of critical evidence being hidden, plus witnesses not being called. We had 5 legal teams against us, whilst we had to beg and borrow and crowdfund for $75,000 to pay for representation at Zane's inquest. The other authorities were spending public money like water. For years before Zane's inquest and during Zane's inquest, even the coroner hired a legal team and had barristers paid for at the public's expense. Our situation was tantamount to multiple Goliaths against one single unarmed David. We were unable to return to our homes for over a year. No alternative housing was ever provided. Without a bed and homeless, Nicole was left to sleep on the floor of a hospital for 4 months. At a time when we were most vulnerable, instead of authorities running towards us to help, they ran towards us to attack. It seemed within minutes of Zane's death that authorities were seeking to distance themselves from their duty to protect us and to fabricate an alternative narrative to stop people joining the dots. They were out to blame the victim. When I got out of hospital, I was paralysed and without a home. Insurers confirmed that the house that we had called a home was no longer fit for purpose. 2 months of tests on that house revealed toxic migrating landfill gases entering our home. The independent report concluded there was a high risk of death occurring again. We were broken and still being beaten, but were still looking for truth. Make no mistake, cases of injustice and cover-up are often obscured by a type of bureaucratic violence upon the victims perpetrated by authorities who have become conduits to corporate power. This situation is exacerbated by the removal of the checks and balances, standards and regulations that are meant to be there to protect us all. Theresa May talks about chemical gases choking the lungs of little ones in Syria. Quite right. However, she did not care when it happened to Zane in Surrey. Like Hillsborough, the truth was known on the day. For Zane, the truth was known in minutes. The National Incident Record Book, none of which we were ever meant to see, states the following. It states, details in Zane's case must be vetted, so no information enters the public domain. It states our house had very high levels of hydrogen cyanide. The inquest for Zane generated widespread concerns, leading to immediate calls for an independent panel inquiry from eminent people and, of course, ourselves, to restore Zane's rights, stripped from him by that inquest, where there was no jury and there was no full and fearless investigation into the evidence, the data and the facts surrounding Zane's death. The coroner decided unilaterally that Zane was poisoned by carbon monoxide, a substance not even detected. I am diagnosed paraplegic due to hydrogen cyanide poisoning. Had Zane's mum, also poisoned, not managed to raise the alarm, many could have died that night. MPs, legal experts and the public were amongst the first to express concerns, as well as the Lords and campaigners against social injustices. The fire brigade, and I want to be a big cheer for the fire brigade. The fire brigade refused to be complicit in the cover-up. The fire brigade union unanimously approved a motion of support for Zane's campaign and its call for an independent panel inquiry, compelling full public authority disclosure and proper full and fearless investigation to restore to Zane the human rights that were stripped from him by being denied an Article 2 inquest with no jury. To be clear, no carbon monoxide was ever found in our home. Only hydrogen cyanide was detected. The question that I ask of you is, what kind of a country do we live in where there is no marked investigation into the finding of hydrogen cyanide, a weapon of mass destruction, in an area or where it came from? The British Medical Journal says 80% of people live within 2 kilometres of landfill. A recent widely publicised report that Moira spoke about earlier discusses findings of environmental contamination. There were some fundamental points that I would like to cover with you, and the main point is the following. Without proper investigation, communities are left at risks to their health, both inside and out of their properties. The Independent newspaper reported just today that a school in Scotland has children where many are ill. The school was built on landfill and the teachers have got cancers. Landfill pollutes areas through several pathways, as do fires in buildings, but it is generally understood that both can involve complex chemical interactions that amplify toxic impact on the human body, whilst other interactions accumulate in the body and harm over time. Plain speaking, this means there will be genetic and carcinogenic reactions, mutations that will last for years. When major incidents occur, authorities are great at failing to do their duty to protect communities, hiding behind alleged lacks of regulation. They fail to conduct sampling in the grounds around people's homes and within the homes themselves. They then fail to remediate. They then fail to monitor. They fail to test the people. I must inform you that the law is absolutely clear. If you kill people, you get held responsible. Yeah. Only got a couple of minutes. Authorities will often fail to disclose issues of environmental contamination, even when they do become aware of communities that are at risk. Independent, impartial reviews must be commissioned that involve the communities concerned. Costs to remediate will lead to arguments amongst authorities responsible for those risks. Until people and the powerful change their attitude and become invested in the need to care for people, humanity, and act, things won't change. I am pleased that with Grenfell there is some appetite that seems to exist in terms of independent analysis, hence the Steck report, Professor Steck's report. However, I'm mindful that this is perhaps a crumb relative to what is actually needed. For Zane, abject failure to investigate continues despite the land next to Zane's home having poisoned in the past. Its sister site a couple of miles along the road having poisoned as well. The remediation of that site was actually just instigated by a stain on a child's dress. Zane dies and nothing. Zane is articled for his love of people and the environment. Zane wrote, "Sustainability is being green." And it's not just tidying up your own garden, it's about tidying up and keeping tidy an even bigger garden that belongs to everyone. I want you to hear Zane's own words, to know the kindness and compassion that he had for other people. There are some authorities that just want Zane to go away. They wanted the Hillsborough families to go away. They want the Grenfell families to go away, Stephen Lawrence's family to go away. But all we ask for is the truth, cooperation and open and frank discussion as the correct route out of the deceits of unaccountable power in the aftermath of a child's death. And people, 72 people, it is up to Parliament and the authorities to do the right thing. To the many that are in support of Zane's campaign and Truth and Grenfell, we salute you. We'd like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. The Fire Brigade Union, the TUC, Unite, the PCS Union, the Green Party. It's 64 months since Zane was taken from us. Please support our campaign. Help it to grow. Read the leaflets, sign the petition. Sign at www.TruthAboutZane.com. It only takes 30 minutes. If we can get from the present 82,000 people that have signed to above 100,000, it could really shine a spotlight on Zane's case and matters of contamination, making it hard for the government to ignore us. Innocent children should not die in their beds. If the media want to do anything for Zane, please share Zane's website. We make the point to politicians all of the time. You are what you do, not what you say. So make Zane the promise of an independent panel inquiry and keep that promise. For all of us grieving fathers, it is not unnoticed that tomorrow is Father's Day and our arms are empty of our lost children. My heart breaks for every father that feels this pain. For all of our lost children, you are forever in our hearts. And we will fight for you. Thank you very much, and blessings to you all.